and then another, 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 and then another.
We wish you happy holidays, whoever you may be. So Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or heck all three. We modernize these jingles for the massive bourgeoisie. Love the updated Christmas Carol team. You'd better not judge, you better not hate, you better not bully or discriminate. Progressive Santa's coming to town. He's making a list of gluten-free foods. He won't take a peek at J-Law's news. Progressive Santa's coming to town. He's 50 different races, and all for tax reform. He'll protect all your children. Well, as long as they've been born, you'd better watch out. It's too far? Okay. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had an advantageous nose. He outlived his friends. He passed his bright red traits on. Darwin said that's how it goes. Evolution's not a theory. Mary, did you know that your baby boy supports the NRA? Mary, did you know that your baby boy is white? Did you know? Deck the halls with Coochie Chuggalia, Kwanzaa. Leaves a wadi hang banderas, Kwanzaa. Throw your hands up in the air. You're a green one, Mr. Grinch. You're lacking in finesse. That greenish epidermis determines your success, Mr. Grinch. Racist who's constrain you to the issues they continue to suppress. You're an outlier, Mr. Grinch. You give the Who's a fright. They say your heart is 3/5 normal. You're either wrong or white, Mr. Grinch. Don't walk the streets of Whoville, you might fight a cop the Who's will not indict. I'm dreaming of a racially ambiguous holiday. Away in a manger with Jesus and crew. His schmeckle got cut 'cause hey, Christ was a Jew. Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night Jesus did something holy. I don't know the whole story. Joseph watched golf right, his leather chair reclining. As Mary birthed a child, I think a donkey was involved. Any help here? God? 3 wise men came with GPS. They found him. Christ lied in a barn as his omniscient baby daddy tucked him in. Jesus crawled on his knees. His mom shared it on Snapchat. Oh, bright device. Oh, night when Christ celebrated Christmas. AIND subscribe.
Christmas spirit for you there.
I was
Progressive
not ready.
Christmas songs.
That was funny. That was funny
That
as
was
shit.
funny stuff, right?
Yeah, at first I thought it was actually triplets until the one popped out of the Christmas wrapping, and then I could kind of tell that it was like the same dude, like just like
Man,
overlaid on it.
That dude's got a good voice, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy can sing. The guy can
He was
sing.
he was pulling the what's his name? Bobby, the guy who sings "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, doing all the beats and everything with his mouth and his hands
Yeah,
and
man,
stuff.
he's.
Yeah.
I don't particularly care for a cappella music. I think it's stupid, especially the pentatonics. I hate them so bad.
Well, because the pentatonics try to take like barbershop quartet stuff, like or like the Temptations type of stuff, and then like make it like electro pop at the same time,
Right,
With like
it's-
all the auto tuning and stuff. It's like it's bad.
So I love the song Hallelujah. I think Cohen was his name.
Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen, thank you. Love that song. And they do a cover. They keep playing it at Christmas time. It's not a Christmas song.
It's not.
No, he was Jewish. The song is very much about being Jewish, you know? So it's not a Christmas song. But they're playing it at Christmas time, right? Love that song. I love most of the covers that I've ever heard done of that song. Except theirs. I absolutely I despise it.
Yeah, it's Sirius XM on one of the Christmas stations. I think it's like Holly. I think it's called the Holly Christmas station. They play a lot of pentatonics.
That's the frickin' one. Every
Yeah.
time I get in the car, gotta suffer through those guys. Yeah.
Because they do play some good tunes, but it's like they get on a
do.
kick. Like there's like every other day is like every fifth track is a pentatonic track, and it's like, okay,
They
this is
had
the day I'm not listening to Holly.
Well, you know why, right? Because what'll happen, those record labels will be paying off radio stations to promote, and the Pentatonics happen to have a new Christmas album out, and so they've even got that live. They're playing that live from wherever back in November. They did a live concert, and they've been playing that thing on loop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a whole hour of frickin' Pentatonics, man.
Yeah.
Like, this
Thank
is
God
just-
there's like Hallmark and holiday traditions. I'll skip around to those. And
Yeah.
if you have the app on your phone, they have a bunch of other ones like
Yeah.
rock Christmas songs and stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Like good stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The good stuff. Man, I even like country Christmas music. Like I'll dig that for a while. I'll take anything over the Pentatonics. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm with
I
you.
digress. So this guy, man, he's pretty good with the acapella music there, but yeah, pretty impressive. Jesus supports the NRA. That's funny. That's funny.
Well, at least unless
did
they're
you
born.
That your
Oh,
baby
that
boy
one. Oh my
was
gosh,
white.
but only if they're born.
Only
Only
if they're born.
Yeah. Too far?
Oh.
Too far.
Yeah.
That's where I think I completely lost it.
Yeah. I was like, all right, there we go. Like I had not watched the whole thing all the way through. I watched a few, probably 45 seconds. And I was like, no, this is going to be funny. Yeah. So we're just going to go with it. We're just going to roll with this thing tonight. Yeah.
I'm guessing
So,
he was mocking progressiveness in that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's what that. I mean, how can you not mock progressive ideology? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, come on, it's nuts. I mean, they take a good idea, right? Like, okay, well, that's pretty good in theory, and then they just pound it into the dirt they just go at it like a horny teenager in the back seat of a broken down car, man. I'm telling you, they're ridiculous. The way they just, it's like, look, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And then they make a religion out of their weird idea. You know, one person has a good idea, and then they start throwing on. It's like everything counts. Every idea that goes with whatever they have to say yes to, because they can't be like, oh wait, that was stupid. You can't. No, that's not going to work, right? Because if they do,
Then they're far right and they're canceled.
right? Yeah, you can't. When you're progressive, you can't say no. Like your only word is yes, right? When it comes to these to ideas, like that's. So that's why it goes nuts. That's why progressive ideology causes things to regress. Because once you get to a good idea, you're supposed to stop. But then everyone wants to be the boss, right? So they want to one up the idea and have a better idea. And so they'll just somebody will just say something really stupid and ridiculous, trying to be better than the good idea that they should have stopped at. And they just keep going and just it never stops with these people. And, we're the bad guys for being like, you guys are kind of stupid.
I was kind of thinking about like something similar along those lines today. Like, I remember growing up and being like the rebel. I don't want to say degenerate, but you push the limits of what semi-punk, semi-metal like attitude of like pushing the limits of like,
Joey, I love you, but if you could prove me that that's not how progressive works, I'll eat this hat. But I have not seen any evidence to the contrary.
But like growing up, I would push the limits of like, okay, this is what's acceptable as far as like whether it came to like humor or behavior or like sexuality or whatever, but then like it's got like, but like you had like an idea, okay, there's a line here, and if I cross this line, then I've gone too much into debauchery, right?
Right, yeah, you're like, oh, you're trying. Here's what it reminds me of this. So, back when I was a teenager, kind of like what you were talking about, we used to kind of get nutty with, the little stunts that we would do. It's like, oh,
right.
well, I bet I can jump off of that, or I can ride my bike off of that, or whatever. And then you just kind of keep upping it. And that's just what it feels like. Is that like, once you kind of get to a, hey, you know what? Everybody should be able to be married and be happy and enjoy the tax cuts and benefits in your society. I'm like, okay, I'm on board with that. And I think I want to. Now they're arguing that pedophilia is a sexual orientation. Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's okay.
Well, did you see? Because there's that group. What's it called? Gays Against Groomers or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because they realize that yes, like. We are a group of this is our community, and these people are infiltrating our community to try to offboard their views onto the world as something that's legit, and it's not, and they don't want anything to do with it, right? They got labeled. The name of their organization is Gays Against Groomers. They just got labeled anti-LGBT and got deplatformed off of something.
How is that possible?
How is that anti-LGBT?
Right, exactly my point.
Well,
What
I was
the
informed.
hell?
I was informed that if you are a gay cis male, you're as good as being a straight man, I guess.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't understand how that works, but yeah, I don't know. It's just getting crazy, and I'm like, at one point, because I'm pretty libertarian, so I'm pretty good with most of that.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's do your thing, Who am I to tell you no? I want to be able to love and worship the way that I want to, right? Right. That's good freedom of America, and so I think everyone should be able to do that. I don't want you to force your views on me. I don't want you to make a law that says that I have to worship the way that you do or love the way that you do, right? So maybe I don't make a law that says that for somebody else. But at some point we do have to say, look, this is out of control. Let's let more reasonable minds prevail here, and let's kind of walk ourselves back from the edge a little. But it gets silly. It just gets silly.
The fact is, not all groomers are LGBT, and not all LGBT are groomers. But the fact is, somewhere along the line, you started calling out groomers, and to stop that, they've made it like a LGBT slur, and I don't understand why or how they did that. I don't get it.
Now let's welcome our chat. Let's see who we all have here tonight. We got Salazar Art Nation is here in the house.
Hi,
Ray
guys.
Haylock, Tugs Web Guys here. Seth.
What's up, Seth? James,
Yo.
Bunny, Ray.
We got
What's
Joey
going
the
on?
Bull. Welcome, Joey. Joey's a good guy. He says that hurts my soul. That's not how progressive works. Like I said earlier, I haven't seen any evidence that it doesn't quite work that way. But of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit,
right,
for the sake of my sick
Comedy.
humor. Yeah.
But also, that's what we see is the vocal ones, and the vocal ones
It is,
are
yeah,
the
that's who you-
ones
yeah.
being that way.
Yeah,
It's like on the news. It's always the weird one that gets the interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was like, hold up. It's like why the it's like they
What was
find
it,
the
like-
most backwoods redneck dude.
Wasn't it like 8 years ago, 10 years? There was that meme of that person on the news, I can't. Some black. Was it a black chick or a black dude?
I think
And she was all cracked out. You got to know what
Yes.
I'm talking about. You have to
There's
know
a
exactly.
few people that have showed up at the news that became memes because they
Right, yeah.
looked like
it's
they
it's
had
like that. It's like
walked,
that. It's like
they
those,
escaped rehab
Yeah.
or something.
it's like the most cartoony that's out there. That's what that's what you see. So it's like
That's
these-
the one
these
that they
odd people.
stop on the street. Yeah.
Yeah, it's these weird people, right? And the fact that people can't laugh about it, and that's the other part that bugs me. Everybody's got to dig their heels in. It's got to be a fight all the time, and it shouldn't have to be. It's like, yeah, let's just look around. Yeah, it's all stupid. It's weird. Of course, Gen Xers, that's how we are. We're like, we're used to looking around and say, yeah, it's all effed up. It is. It's all messed up. All right, so let's. James Hayes says, "Hello, Luke, Piper, Dark Gift, and those of you in the chat. Hope that you're having a great night."
You as
He
well,
also
my
says,
friend.
"Yeah, absolutely." He says they have been arguing that shoes are a sexual orientation.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I don't want to
Shoes
know
turn
about
you on?
this.
What?
you like the shoes, do you? You gonna marry your shoes now? That's weird.
In that case, wouldn't just every fetish be an orientation now instead of a
Oh,
fetish?
you know what I should do? So I got Link in my books. He's a technophile, right? Like
Oh no.
right? I should make him like in love with machines or something. Like, yeah, like he carries on a relationship with an AI. But that's not too far fetched. That's not as far fetched as it should be. Welcome, Telepathic Bunny. Nice to have you here. You should try Home Free. They're like Pentatonics, but talented. I've heard the Home Free, and they're okay, but I still don't care for it. Joey's got a lot to say. Joey, what's up? That's not a true statement for you. See evidence every day. The fact is that Democratic Party is more moderate. Okay, no, dude. Okay, no, we're done. We're done, buddy. I love you. I do. I love
Yeah,
you.
but that was a
But
really old comment. Like, he's had others since then. You're like way behind.
Well, everyone's like typing. See, here's the thing. I say hot takes, and people get ticked, and they get, and I don't read that fast because I'm Southern boy, I guess.
Well, yeah, but
This
he
is what I am.
posted that at like 10:17, and it's 10:23. So he was done.
Oh, yeah.
He was done with that after he.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want y'all to get mad at each other because you're reading an old
Right, yeah.
comment to an old.
No, I'm
thing
not
you
gonna
said.
get mad at him.
Not a new thing you said.
Yeah, Joey and I are cool. I like that guy. He's in our Facebook group, and I made him one of our moderators. He's a good guy. Very talented fellow, man. You should check out his work. Very, very good.
Wolfer. Telepathic Bunny. That's a different cracked out meme lady.
Well, to support social change, and more importantly, control the left desire, the ability to prosecute thought crime and man. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, right. Okay. Welcome, Agent Zero. Yeah. Sometimes I get things started, man. I don't. Yeah. Oh, loving the conversation regardless. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the acknowledging it's an exaggeration. Yeah, it is. I'm not being, but you're right. They're extremists on both sides. There's weirdos everywhere, man. I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, buddy. I'm just far, far behind. We got Wolfer here. Welcome, Wolfer. Is it Wolfer or Wolfler? I can't. I'm not sure.
Oh, I call him
Wolfler.
Wolfer because I like wolves.
Could be. Welcome.
I do see
Welcome,
the L
Tank
now.
Ferret. I almost blocked Tank Ferret by accident. I hit the
Uh-oh.
wrong button. I hit the hamburger menu on the side.
I keep
and
almost doing that.
to block. Yeah, I almost do that. Man, that's crazy. So, I did a tweet the other day on, Twitter. Duh. So, here's what's
Wolfler.
funny.
I'll remember that.
Wolfler. See, that's what I was wondering.
Okay.
I was called Wolf, but I was like, I see that L in there. So there's this I once worked with someone that I thought respected me, but as time went on, they became very disrespectful. To the point to where they were even disrespectful about me to my family. And then they were very disrespectful of the fan base that I brought into the collaboration. Now, I know what I did. The money wasn't good enough, so I broke up. Like, yeah, we're breaking up. Because the money wasn't good enough, and, you know, there was disrespect there. You know, there were fans that weren't happy, and, you know, I'm having to deal with messages. Did you see what so-and-so said? I did. I saw what they said. Well, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, I don't know. He's a grown-ass man. But he can say what he wants. We've got this thing called the First Amendment, you know? He's like, well, you're going to keep working with him? I'm like, well, I guess not if he's taking off everybody that wants to give us money. I'm not going to, I'm not going to deal with that, you know? And then it just, you know, got to the point where it just got so bad. I was like, I'm just going to walk away from this thing. It's not worth it. Life's too short. And then I almost died. And then when I came back, I was like, man, I was ahead of the curve on that decision. But it got me thinking, what would it take for you to work with someone that disrespects you or your fan base?
See, if you just said me, I could put a price tag on it.
Same. I was going to say that.
When you mention the fan base, I gotta say nothing.
No,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
The fan base puts me where I am, so I need them. So there
Yeah,
would be
right,
no
like-
real benefit to working with somebody that's going to drive them off.
You see, that's my thought, right?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't do this as a poll. I just put the question out there. And it got a lot of traction. And
Can I say something really quick?
go for it, man.
The first thing I noticed was that a bunch of people assuming you were talking about them. I was scrolling through that thread going, I mean, if the shoe fucking fits, but...
It's like, have we worked together? Have you asked to work with me? Like, I mean, is this like... I'm like...
Yeah, it was...
all I know is your screen name. I don't even know, like, your actual name. I don't know.
Right?
Is it
It was
you?
just
Are you
weird
a
to
bot
me
of
that,
this?
like, there seemed to be people that were like, you're talking about me, aren't you? Or, I know who you're talking about, and this and that. And I'm
And
like...
the thing is, they don't know who
that
I'm
was a
talking
general
about. But
question. Like, that wasn't even
I-
vague tweeting. That was like...
yeah, just a general question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty vocal about when I don't want to work with someone. You know, it's I'm not shy about
I have
it.
high tolerance. I have a lot of. It doesn't seem like it, but I have a lot of patience and tolerance. If we take the disrespecting your audience kind of thing out of the question, but it is kind of one of those that be patient. I'll be patient, and when I finally had enough, it's loud and big and messy.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I have a thick skin, you know, so I could take it,
not my
you
crap.
know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially, you know, especially if I put a price tag on it, you know what I mean? Like, it would be a big price tag. I gotta tell
Yeah,
you.
you would have to pay me a lot to put up with bullshit.
Right. I know the First Amendment doesn't totally work. Here's what I think is great. Like, our forefathers had the foresight to say, you should be able to say whatever you want. And then someone followed up like, well, if you do that, you're going to have a gun. Right? They're like, yeah, you're probably going to have to pack heat. Yeah, because you can say whatever you want, but there's consequences to everything you say, right? And that was kind of the thing, you know, that we were dealing with. It's like he
Yeah.
could say what he wanted to. But the consequence was that it was making the working relationship very difficult for me. It was making fans not be real energetic about the project or the collaboration. And it just wasn't worth it, you know, in
Yeah.
the end. With the whole, I kind of got duped into a lower page rate on that one than what I would normally accept. You know, with the promise that there's going to be. Here's the thing, if someone tries to talk you into a lower page rate, than what you normally take, with the promise that there's going to be extra money on a percentage on the back end for you, don't take it. Unless you're an owner of that and it's part you and you're splitting the profit. But if you're working out a page rate at the beginning of things and you don't have full at least 50% creative control of that property, then don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Right.
In the end, you'll wind up suffering for it.
No, I know that they
100%.
It's funny because like I know that there's consequences to what there's always consequences to your actions, to what you say, because I guess what you say could be considered an action or whatever. But it drives me like that whole freedom of speech doesn't take away from freedom of consequence. That whole like line to try to like brush off like actual like unfairness in certain situations always drove me nuts. That's why when I hear it, I cringe a little. Like when you were just saying that, like I cringed a little because I know it's true, but like you heard it so much for so long as like a gaslighting mechanism that like I cringe at that. But yeah, you're right. There is like consequences to the things that you say, and say what you want, but be prepared to take those. But
you got to deal with it. See, like I'm happy to say what I want, and I know that it's gonna, someone's either gonna take it in fun, like I mean it. They're gonna know there's a little bit of truth in what I'm saying. At least my viewpoint is in what I'm saying, but I'm not intentionally being malicious, to anyone, that in general. But I understand that when I joke the way that I do, that there could be some fallout for it, and right. I have that I have a sarcastic tone, and it's made worse by my vocal damage. That sarcastic tone tends to put everything I say in a kind of way, right? So I know, you deal with that. But James, what we're talking about is actual disrespect. We're talking disrespect. When your wife and kid are like, I can't believe he talks about you that way. If you belittle someone, like even at the lowest key, kind of passive aggressive belittling. No, that's not. There's a difference between buddies, right? Like if Anthony and I started messing with each other, when that's in fun, and then when it's like, ooh, a line has been crossed, buddy. And there was definitely lines. That's what I'm talking about. If they flat out disrespect you or your fan base, like if they just don't think, like let's say someone said this, Anthony, the project we're working on together would be more successful if you weren't on it.
If a fan said that?
No, if a collaborator said that.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, okay. Like if me and you were working on something and you turned around to me and said that to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be again, I'd have to have a big price tag to deal with that shit, man. That's it's just like why'd we even get together and do this in the first place?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Ray thought it was him. Apparently. I think everybody was reading it twice. Who's Luke talking about? I'm not vague tweeting, okay? I'm not vague posting. Just a general question. Because it made me curious, because, I knew how I would handle that situation, or how I did handle that situation. And I had somebody come up to me, and we had a little StreamYard meeting and everything a few weeks ago, and they wanted me to do the art for their project, and they tried to work out some kind of a deal that I wasn't real happy with to start with, but I didn't like them. I didn't like this person. And they knew that. I was like very I was very vocal. I was like, look, in a professional setting, I'll work with you, but I don't like you, and I know that you don't like me, and we're going to disagree. And at some point when we disagree about this project that we're both on, I think you're going to tank it. That's what I told him. I said, I think you're going to tank it. And they said, no, that wouldn't happen. We have a contract. Well, guess what? We happen to have a contract on another thing that we weren't as closely tied to, and he got a little butthurt about something. Guess what he did? He tanked everything that he was a part of with that. And I'm like, see, I was right. I was right about that. You get it. You see what's going on there. Try to catch up with the chat here. Let me see where we at here. I've lost my place.
Last year, yeah.
Yes, and it was a joke. The joke in question. First Amendment protects your freedom from government impending on your freedom of expression. That is true. It does, among other things. Among other things. Get that in writing. Yes, get it in writing. Always get it in writing. That is the. You're safe with me. Yeah, I think I am. I think I'm safe with Ray. Ray's a good guy. The issue at hand, like a lot of the things I love that you guys are going over, isn't necessarily your intent. It's how someone else chooses to weaponize what you said. Yeah. It's
that's the issue, right? Because they know what your intent was. They just purposely act like you meant something else.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Sometimes you
That's
give
why
them...
the first thing I said was it didn't read like vague tweeting. It read like genuine, like I'm curious. What would you do kind of deal.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We've created a culture in our world that is that way, that it's very... We often take things that we know are intended one way and realign those or retell those in such a way as to validate a point that we want to make, whether it be pro or con, right? Whether it be for or against, whatever we're trying to say. It's I blame preachers. I think preachers started it first, where they will just take scripture out of context to make it say what they want it to. They did it. And then we have governments that take history out of context and omit certain things, or say certain things about people that, but now it's just like, it's all over the internet that people do this, that they just are constantly rewriting the facts, if you will. And it creates this environment where everybody has to be polarized. You're either against me or you're not. Like you mentioned earlier, gays against groomers. Now they're being labeled anti-LGBTQ+, right? Well,
right.
That in and of itself is ridiculous. They can't be, because if they're part of the alphabet, they can't be against the alphabet, right? Isn't that how that works? They're against groomers. Can't we agree that grooming is bad? Like, we don't want to groom children. Like, that's wrong. I mean, even non-religious depraved people know you don't mess with kids. That's wrong. And
well, you saw that Project Veritas thing, right?
I did not. What's that all about?
The dean, they call him the butt plug dean.
Oh.
What?
So it's a dean of a
Please
private
tell me
school.
This is a joke.
No. Well, that's what Project Veritas labeled him. It's a dean of a private school that was caught on video talking about how they were passing dildos and butt plugs around to 14-year-olds, and they were talking about the difference between using spit and lube. And they were passing it off under the guise of queer sexual education. And it's like, no, because sex ed, even straight sex ed,
Does not get into that.
Doesn't get it. Yeah, this is what your junk is. This is what your junk does, and that's that.
That's how it works.
What they're teaching is kink, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what they're teaching.
Yeah, they're teaching kink. They're not teaching sex ed.
Right. And the school,
that
the
makes
school
me sick.
defended him. $40,000 a year school, and the school defended him.
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
You see, we have to get to a point where we can call that stuff out. But so anyway, now it's saying that, if you call that out, now you're over here.
Yeah.
There's no neutrality, or there's no crossing lines now. You can't cross the aisle to talk on things. And it's one thing to have politicians that are like that, but it's another thing to have people that work in comic books and games and nerd stuff to be like that, like how jacked up is that? Like, I remember the only thing, like, my group of friends all came together because we all loved comic books. We could talk about them. And there was guys, girls, black kids, white kids, an Asian kid. There was a lesbian, and I'm pretty sure one of the guys was gay. But nobody cared. Like, that wasn't...
It's not why you were there.
Yeah, it wasn't why we were there. We weren't sitting, hey, we're going to have a diverse group here. No, we were all nerds. We were all picked on and made fun of. And we just happened to find each other at that loser kid lunch table. And comic books was our catalyst for conversation. And we loved it. And it was awesome. And that was life.
The arguments weren't about your like political ideologies. It was about which one was the better X-Man, Wolverine or Cyclops, right? Like,
right. Clearly, it's Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I'm with you on that one.
I mean, yeah. But we were talking like, do you like Angel? Did you like him better as Angel or Archangel? Which one is better? What do you think? Archangel, of course. But
honestly,
I mean,
I'm gonna take a hot take here. I liked him better after he was Archangel, when he was still blue skinned, but he was Angel again.
Oh, yes, when he's had his mind back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, he was in his old red and white costume with the blonde hair, but his skin was still blue.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Yeah, I did. I like that.
Yeah.
Because he still had like that edginess of Archangel, but like he was Warren Worthington again. You know what I mean? Like there was...
Warren Worthington.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the thing, so somehow this stupid culture has found its way into our geekdom, into our geek culture.
Not to cut you off. Have a good night, James.
Oh.
See you, James is going to head out. See you, James, buddy.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's all right. No. But yeah, that's the, that's my problem right now is with all these hot takes that's out there, that...
Well, it's funny, too, because...
Why are we allowing it to do that to us?
It's kind of funny because I just got into a little bit of a... I was, I was feeling itchy, so I was trolling a little bit. But, like, I actually started off a legitimate conversation with, like, these, Twitter files that were being dropped. And I started a legit back and forth with somebody. And then a bunch of lawyers jumped in, like little Twitter lawyers. And they're like YouTube lawyers, but, like, worse because they're on Twitter. And because I wasn't using the correct terminology, right? So then one guy tried to use it, and I said, listen, my point still stands, right? Like, you just because I'm not using the right legalese, my point still stands. I was like, that'd be like me trying to, like, gaslight your argument if we were talking about music by you not using the correct musical terminology. And then the guy tried to use musical terminology against me, and he used it incorrectly. And then, like, so then I just lost it. So I started trolling hard. Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean.
Right.
You know what I mean.
Right. And it's funny because, like, the one guy was like, well, you and your Trump, you and your Trump loving buddies or something like that. And I was like, do you think I'm conservative because I don't agree with what you're saying? Like, that's where we're at now, right? Like, you don't agree with me, you must be a conservative. And I'm like,
You've
dude,
gotta be.
Yeah, I'm like the furthest thing from a conservative. Like if we go back to the day, like, pre-2010, like, I'd be arguing with conservatives over kitchen table issues every day of the week. But because we're post 2010, where we're like talking now, we're talking about censorship, freedom of speech, cancellations, stuff like that. I and now we're talking about like the denigration of like children. Like I have to stand against that. Like I was against that then. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to just because what's considered liberal now. That's not liberal to me. What's going on now on the left is not liberalism. It's
weird.
not.
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a liberal. Like I don't know if you guys know this. I was a liberal, and I was kind of a right-leaning liberal. I believed a lot of different liberal policies, and now I'm a hard-leaning conservative, I guess, is what people call me.
I thought I was a centrist the whole time, but I keep getting told that I'm right-wing, even though I don't.
I didn't move,
agree
guys.
with everything.
My view
either
on
did
policies
I.
hasn't changed.
Yeah,
You know-
I was
you
gonna
know,
say
it's
my
fu-
beliefs haven't changed.
It's funny. I liken it to the old 1950 westerns, right? Where you got the guy riding, like pretending like he's riding on a fake horse, and the background is moving.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm standing in the same spot I was in 1994.
Yeah.
Everything else just moved, right? Like
They just
so-
redefined everything.
Yeah.
They're
real.
redefining words. There's redefining, like, I used to think to be progressive was smart, was good. And then, like, progressivism
became
means
regressivism.
something different now. It's more, And then, they've just kind of moved the goalpost. And it's just weird now,
When you want to take away civil rights out of your state constitution, when you want to take like literally take the civil rights out of your state constitution and bring back hiring and firing based on the color of someone's skin, you've gone too far.
Yeah. Full circle, I guess, to what they were accusing.
Yeah,
You've
that's
gone
like, come on.
literally too far.
That is a step in the wrong direction,
When you're literally having segregated dormitories in colleges and segregated graduations, you've gone too far.
Yeah. When people are talking about creating their own segregated cities.
Right. So what are you not like? Are we
What's wrong?
now like? When you literally when you're feeding into like little racists' lingo and then calling out people and using it like unironically, like we literally went from saying colored people back in the 50s to now people of color. I mean, it's the same freaking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, how is this different? It sounds just.
You just added a word. You added an
another
extra word.
Yeah. You just
Not
made
even a
wrong.
word. You added,
Yeah.
what do
It
they call it?
sounds somehow worse to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It sounds somehow worse to me. I'm like, I just don't understand that it's I mean, you keep your head down, right? You kind of try to mind your own business and stay in your own lane. And then when you look up, you're like, whoa, what happened? It's strange. So yeah, so now calling out things like grooming and this strange kind of behavior, it just
I knew
weird,
something
man.
was wrong. I knew something was wrong when my Ronald Reagan-esque Republican of an uncle, who me and him would argue at Thanksgiving about kitchen table issues.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like during the holidays on Thanksgiving or on Christmas or something like that. When me and him started liking each other's Facebook posts, I was like, something is whacked, guys.
Something's
something is
wrong here.
really whacked.
Yeah, like
should
my
not-
mom and I would have we would argue all the time because she was very conservative, and she's like, I didn't raise you that way, and I'm like, well, it's it's funny. I'm like, well, you do the best you can, but I said it's those heathen friends of mine, I guess, and but yeah, like I don't want to fight with people. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to fight with people. Look, right is right and wrong is wrong. I think we can be able to say, look, this is right or that is wrong. We should be able to, to be able to identify good versus evil. We should still be able to define what that is. But, and to say this far, no further, right? It's the further part that people are getting lost on. And if you say this far no further, then you're somehow
Right wing.
you're somehow wrong, right? Right wing.
Yeah.
And like Nick, who's here, civility and discussion are required for progress. Absolutely. Nick is a liberal, but he's a reasonable reasonable liberal.
Is he like me, like a classic liberal, or like is
classic
he
liberal,
a little more progressive? Yeah.
No, very classic liberal.
Yeah, that's me.
But willing to discuss the things that, like, he and I disagree on a lot, but we have discussion about it. At the end of the day, we still don't agree on several issues, right?
Right.
But guess what we agree on? Our love for comics and games.
Right.
Right?
Well, that's the thing,
things
right?
that we
Like, that's
disagree on
what
aren't
brought-
enough
that's what-
to make us separated.
That's what brought me here. Is like, I didn't like the fact that like conservatives in comics were being blacklisted and treated the way they were. I was like, no, man, that's not how this works. That's not how this country works. Like, this isn't right. There's something off about this. And I got it. Like, what happened to the day of being like, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death your right to say it. Like, whatever happened to that? You know? Like, I hang out now, not by choice so much and not by force so much. I hang out with who I want to hang out with, but I'm getting along with, more so with people on the right, conservatives, even though, like, I can sit there and argue the kitchen table issues and not agree on those, and, like, walk away, have a beer with somebody, walk away laughing after the argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shake their hand and be like, I'll catch you tomorrow, pal. You know what I mean? But, like, if I tried to even have that same conversation with a progressive on the left, that would never happen. The beer bottle would be smashed over my head. It would be a bad night.
I have family members I haven't talked to since 2016.
Trump broke people's brains, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
literally
I haven't
broke
spoke to
people's
since
brains.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before him, it didn't matter. I could talk to anybody. Like, anybody could talk to anybody. And then as soon as he started running, holy crap. You can't talk to nobody.
So get this. So it was like a Wednesday night. It was the Wednesday after election, right? Trump had won. And we had a lady that came to our Wednesday night. We would do a dinner and a Bible study, right? She came in and she goes, "You did this, didn't you?" And I was like, "I cooked."
They're like, yes,
Yeah.
I did cook this.
I did that. No. She said, "No. Trump, you did it, didn't you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You Christian conservatives." And she just started going off. What? And I was like, whoa, hold on. It's like, number one, you don't know who I voted for. Okay.
Dude, is she not a regular there? She just wandered in.
She had been going there for like a year.
Then
right?
Then what does that
And I'm
make
like-
her?
And I'm like, I'm conservative leaning. I said, but I'm a libertarian. But really, it's none of your business who I voted for. Like,
Yeah.
that's why they put the curtain up. Because it's
Right.
nobody's business who you voted
Right.
for. So that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're going to pray for our country. We're going to pray for our new president because God knows he's going to need it. Right? I said, and we're going to enjoy a dinner tonight. And we're going to have fun and fellowship. And you know what? We're going to learn a little bit about how to treat each other better. That's what we're going to learn. And then she proceeded to make someone cry. And so finally I was like, look, you're going to have to go. You can't be here. You need to take the night off. We'll see you Sunday. Never saw her again.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Like when Trump was elected, I was like one of the ones going, like, I don't believe all that. Like I could literally search for the vid. Like, Trump said this. Go watch the video clip. No, he didn't. You know, so I can. And I've been calling out the mainstream media since before Trump. So it was funny because I'd be calling out the lies, and they'd be like, "You're sticking up for Trump," and I'm like, "No, my intent here is to call out the lies of the media." I was like, if that
Trust me, it's like, I'm not
inadvertently,
sticking up for him.
Yeah.
If that inadvertently defends them, I mean, it could be anybody. Like Chris Christie could have won that election, and they would, I guarantee you this. I'd be making the same points, and you guys be
Yes.
going, "You're defending Chris Christie." You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter, right? So, but no, you people don't understand that. Like they literally just consume what's thrown at them. And 'cause I've been talking to
list of problems that this show's not long enough to cover. Okay.
right,
And
right.
And again, it's stuff we nerds deal with, but it's not stuff that should motivate our entire lives and careers. It's just, look.
Not to jump ahead in the chat, but I'm seeing your friend Nick say, I go issue by issue. It is why I don't deal in cults of personality on either side of the political aisle. Right. Well, that's the issue nowadays, right? Right and left do not mean political anymore. It's literally ideology at this point. If you're not with the cult, and I call them a cult, I'm sorry, but if you're not with the cult, you're on the right. And that's it. So that's why the right nowadays is made up of classic liberals, disaffected liberals, moderates, centrists, conservatives.
Yeah.
Like we all don't get along. This is why there's so much infighting within like our little community, even here, is because you have people who just have like difference of opinions on certain things. But like, again, it's all the kitchen table issues. It's all like the nuances of stuff. It's not, but we all agree on the same thing, right? Freedom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Those disagreements is not the disrespect I'm talking about, because I can work with someone that I disagree with.
Right.
It's blatant disrespect. It's
you
think that I'm stupid because I don't agree with you. You think that I'm a lesser human being because of some unknown value that you hold that I'm supposed to know about or whatever, That can happen, and that does happen. It's happened to me. But then just general disrespect, that's what I'm talking about. But disagreeing, I mean, from what I have read, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee did not agree on a lot. But here's the thing: I couldn't tell you how either one of those guys voted because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me how they voted.
Well,
they produced really good work.
What's the most classic example of who? Remember Green Lantern, Green Arrow comic? Was that Denny O'Neil or? I forget who the creators were on that, but one was a conservative, one was a liberal, and so they kind of, without self-inserting, they just inserted their politics. So Hal Jordan was the conservative, and Green Arrow was the liberal, and they were the best of friends and teammates, right?
But they worked in those conflicts, and you could see like, well, hey, here's how you can work with someone that you don't necessarily agree with, but you both agree on what right is, on like what matters. So even if you disagree on with what you call the kitchen table topics, we can agree on the big things. And we've kind of lost that, I think. Joey says, the sad part is you kind of answered your own question. The issue in society is that we don't ever leave high school. We create social groups, and we choose to keep them marginalized under different umbrellas, then call it adulthood. I want to disagree with that, respectfully, because I didn't marginalize myself, and I didn't marginalize anybody else.
That would be the only thing that I would. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But the people that I knew didn't do that either. Now, I can't speak for anyone that's outside of that had a different experience outside of me. Where I grew up in my area, nobody was marginalized. And well, I'm sorry, I was wrong. We were marginalized in the fact that we were poor, and we all came from this one little neighborhood, and we were not. It wasn't by race,
it was
gender,
class.
sexuality. It was by class. We were marginalized by class.
Yeah.
And I will wholeheartedly agree with you, Joey, if that's what you're saying, that the marginalization that exists has been there forever. It's a class marginalization. It's trying to keep the poor people poor and the rich people rich at whatever cost. And I mean, I believe that. I believe that if you can look past someone's gender, race, or orientation, or religion, and look at their bank account, you know, and realize that that's where the battle's at,
Right.
and you unite together, that scares the 1%ers more than anything. Is if we all said, you know what, enough with the BS. We see what this is about.
How did going from being quote unquote colorblind, like I don't see people's skin color, I just see the character, you know, their character and what they
I
do.
treat them all as people.
How did that become a bad thing? Like you
now
got
you're racist.
now
If
it's
you don't
racist.
treat people differently based
right, but like even if you don't like him, like Tom McDonald, I don't know if you guys know who Tom McDonald is, but even if you don't like him or his music, the one message he keeps pushing is they want us to fight over this stuff because it's not us versus each other. It should be us versus the system, and the system is the one that's got their boot heel on all of our necks, right?
Yeah.
And it is a
It's
class.
doing what it can to keep us fighting.
Right.
So that has remained the same. Unfortunately, that is bred into us and taught to us in school. And I don't like it. I don't like that at all. But as far as the other marginalization goes, I mean, like I said, I can only speak from my experience. Nick says, do you think that nerd interest became more mainstream? It eroded the unifying force of outcasts. Maybe that was it. I think what they saw is the people saw that there was money there. Because guess what? Nerds got well-paying jobs.
Yeah.
And could spend a lot of money on the things they liked. And it just so happened that nerds like nerd stuff. So wherever there's money, they exploit it. They exploit everything. Like, I like Big Bang Theory, but I can tell you that those writers for that show aren't real nerds.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like no, this is what normies think nerds are. Like
Right.
that's what it is. It's still funny to me, but it's not. I don't look at that and I don't see myself in that show. I'm like, no, that's not real nerd. That's
If you're watching
yeah.
it and taking it for what it is, then it can be entertaining. But if you're watching it thinking, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be a cool show about," no, like,
Yeah.
by
It's gonna be
us
a cool
for
show
us,
about
no,
me.
it's not.
No, it is not. It is not. It is. It's still funny. It's still funny for what it is. It's enjoyable. But yeah, it's not. But again, I don't get mad at it. I'm like, you have to stop laughing at this show because it misrepresents my people. No, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's stupid. Joey says I hate my talk to text. I hate talk to text too. Sometimes I just hate talk because I'm like, words are hard. But regardless, enjoyed what I was around for. Get that young man dark in the wars every time he speaks. There's a bit of wisdom. I appreciate that. Love this contest. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that on twofold. Number one, I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, on the bit of wisdom, and I definitely appreciate being called a young man.
An award. He meant an award, not an wars.
Oh.
Talk to text. There you go, man. Nick says, in the past needs, geeks
Nerds.
banded together as a means of safety and understanding as surviving the trauma. Now that geek chic is a thing, that tie is all gone, and I do believe that to be reasonably so. And I think that's why subgroups in comics like Comicsgate are very popular. And don't believe all of the Wikipedias that you read about it. That's a group of very diverse people, not just in gender and race and sexuality, but in ideology and thought.
Yeah.
Like it's a very, and that's why there's a lot of fighting there, I think.
Yeah.
Because
that's why they call me the fence sitter, because I'm like the liberal in Comicsgate. You know?
Yeah. Well, you're like a neutral. Yeah, but you're kind of liberal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I'll have a conversation. You know what I mean? Like I remember I got so much flack for bringing a member of Antifa on for a debate. So many people got mad at me for that, and I'm like, why? Like, I get it. Like, they're blocking us out. We should block them out. You know, you want to fight fire with fire. But if someone's willing to come on and debate, I'd rather, shed some light on that. You know what I mean? Like,
Joey, you're going to have to come on the show sometime, man. I think we'll have a good time talking. He says, I got to go. I got to go. No, I got to go. But yeah, I think that's the truth. I think most people are liberal leaning, or at least central. Most people are centric. And that's the thing. Most people are somewhere in the middle. That on this issue I'm here, on this issue I'm there. But what happens is they say, no, you have to be this or that. And they're creating these, it's the extremists that are really loud and really weird. They say this is what you have to be. And they don't want you to talk in the middle. And it's just sad.
Yeah, exactly. I love the whole campaign against centrist. Especially when they said centrist extremist. When that started going around, I'm like, how? What?
That's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
yes.
For one, and for two, all the freaking propaganda against centrist was like, oh sure, let's what was it? Like, let's kill half. Let's just do genocide half of the whatever and stuff like that. It's like, that's not.
Do you remember when they tried to say centrist didn't exist?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Like, there's no such thing as a centrist. I'm like, that's like people saying there's no such thing as Central Jersey. Like, it's really like the people up in North Jersey and the people down in South Jersey at the very far ends of the state, they'll tell you there's no such thing as Central Jersey. And I'm like, no, we all live here. We call it Central Jersey all the time.
It's like saying well, I almost said something. I almost said it's like saying there's no such thing as the middle part of the U.S. But I think the two coasts think the middle part of the U.S. doesn't exist. And I think that's how Trump won. They kind of forgot they existed. You know who didn't? Weirdo Trump.
Right.
He was like, guess what? I know they're out there. And I know how the Electoral College works. He took advantage of it. He certainly did. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet, sweet for bitter. That is very, very true, my friend. He's quoting a scripture. But that is very true. We run into that a lot. And, I'm just now getting to Nick. I go issue by issue. Ray Halong says, sorry, guys. Power just shut itself. Phone about to die. See ya, buddy. Have a good one. Welcome, sis.
That was
Love
forever
you.
ago.
Nice to have you in that. Yeah, it was.
No.
I'm trying to get caught up. Jeff Potts is here. Welcome, Jeff Potts. I have an agenda, and it can be altered for the low, low price of $50. I appreciate that post. I really do. Jeff Potts says there are too many people out there willing to believe some of the most idiotic things because they have an instinctive impulse to hate someone. Yes, too much hate, not enough love. Nick says I can deal better with blatant disrespect. That it is open far better than hidden disrespect. Nefarious is here. Welcome, Neff. Hail, nerds. You're heading off to Japan. Are you in Japan now or going to be there soon? Can't remember. Dwight Kinnick. Welcome, buddy. I don't care what someone's ideology is as long as they do good work and turn it in on time. And you know what? Mm-hmm. Bingo. Do you do good work? Are you easy to get along with? And I mean, that doesn't mean we don't have to agree. We have to be easy to get along with, right? Piper, we don't agree on everything. Even when it comes to creative stuff, we don't agree, right? And but that's not a problem because we'll default on certain things. Like, okay, if I know something is more important to you, I'll default to that for you. Yeah. And vice versa. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like too, sharing politics and stuff like that shouldn't even be part of a working relationship.
Yeah,
like,
why is it important? It's not.
I mean, we're talking about them now. Sure, that's good to if we're going to discuss it like in this aspect. But like at the end of the day, my politics are my politics. Your politics are your politics, and they're not. There's no reason they should affect what we're doing.
Well, to be fair, we're not talking about our politics. We're
Okay.
talking about how politics are affecting our work and our culture, our communities that we're in.
Yeah,
these
for the
nerd
most part,
cultures.
the most I know about you is you're libertarian, and the most you know about me
Yep.
is I'm centrist. I'm all
Yep.
over the place. I'm a mess.
Yep. I don't think anyone knows how I voted in the last election. The most vocal I've been about who I voted for, was that I voted for Obama twice. And I loved the
wait, I
first
did
one, and I
once.
regretted the second one.
I vote. Yeah.
I was
O-
disappointed by
was-
the second one. That's why I switched from being a Democrat to a libertarian.
Dude, same here. I Obama was the last Democrat I ever voted for, and then I went independent. I didn't go totally libertarian. I flirted with the Green Party a little bit. You know, in 2016, I think I voted for Stein. You know,
There was one time I voted for that Vermin Supreme, I'm pretty sure, because I
Oh, yeah?
did not know what to do. I remember I was so excited the first time I could actually vote in a presidential election was Obama's first run.
mine
And I
was Clinton.
So freaking excited.
Mine too.
And
Clinton.
and I was like, and man, he's got charisma, or had at least. I probably still does. He's got
think
some
Obama?
freaking charisma. So I was like, I didn't even want to pick a party. I was just like, I don't know. I'm voting for that dude. That dude, change.
Dude, yeah.
We're
So
gonna-
here's the deal.
gonna
He
do
was
great
so
things.
good at public speaking. I actually, in my speech class for public speaking, is I would dissect his speeches,
Nice.
and his cadence and delivery was so good, and how he would hit the beats, and there's flags in every speech that you're going to do. There's a flag, and you need to hit that flag, but you hit it like a beat, right? And he
Yeah.
was just so freaking on, like a master, that I was like,
Yeah.
we dissected it, and I said, this is how I want to be able to present. I want to be able to present whatever thought or idea that I want to talk about like this, to where, and so as an introvert, I learned how to public speak based off of, based off of some other people, but really going early on in ministry by looking at Obama's speeches and seeing how he was able to communicate so clearly, but not only that, but to get so many people rallied around him.
Yeah.
Because as much as some of the more racist people might want to say that it was just black people that voted him in, that's not true. That's not true. Almost every white person that I knew voted for him.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say
Like-
so. You know,
like
because
he-
I think
Here's the thing. If it was only black people that voted for him, or minorities that voted for him, he wouldn't have
he
made
would
it
have
in.
lost. Yeah, he would have lost.
That's right. Like, white people had to vote for him too. He got everyone behind him. He rallied people. And then at some point during his second term, something happened and he divided everybody.
Yep.
And I felt the bait and switch.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
You started to see that we were like 6 years in, and nothing he promised started to happen.
Not a thing. Yeah. I realized number one was he was just like every other politician, lying to me. And then number
Yep.
two, his defense was to separate us and get us fighting.
Yeah.
And it was like, this was nuts. And that just kind of coincided with Trump running,
Well, and then the
he became
fact
the
that
boogeyman.
And then the fact that, like, he drone striked American citizens. I mean, that didn't
Yeah.
help any.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, let's not talk about that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's that kind of stuff that it's just when you start realizing, that it just we used to be
Yeah.
able to connect, but we've allowed all of these weird political stuff to affect us in our work and in what we do in the real world. Let's call it everything else the real world, and what we do something different because it's fun. This is what I do for a living, and I love it. I love drawing comic books for a living. I'm finishing up 2 test pages right now for a potential client. Can't You know, I love that that's how I spent my day. I spent my day drawing comic pages and packaging books that I made into boxes for people that paid me for them. That was my, man, it's a good life, you know?
Yeah,
it's a good life.
It's awesome. And
we allow politics and culture to mess it up.
Yeah, and I was just going to say it's sad because, you know, for the longest time I'd be like, well, at least I'm only dealing with this shit online, right? Because that's where people really, like, get vocal. When I go outside, I'm not really dealing with it. And I know half these people are probably of a different ideology, you know. I'm lucky that I'm in a more family-centric town, you know what I mean? Where there's not so much of the wokeness in the schools. I don't have kids, but, like, I don't like seeing that crap, you know what I mean? And but it's funny because now it's like within like the last like couple of years, especially like the last since COVID, I'm seeing it in real life now. You know what I mean? Like there's literally like on the main highway after you get out of my neighborhood, you go down. There's like a business. There's like just Trump flags everywhere, right? Like it's just like you would think Trump lived there. Like that's how like like it's just Trump.
Dude ain't been president for like for a minute.
It's been there since he was president, so I'll give the guy that much credit, right? But it's like still there. And then like you have other guys, but like you have like the Biden, Biden Harris stickers all over, and I stand with Ukraine, and all this craziness. And it's like I've literally had people like come out and like you meet somebody new and you're talking with them, and all of a sudden they're like, they'll just like drop it, like you'd be like, oh, and if somebody voted for Trump, I just don't talk to them, and I'm just like, I didn't need to know that about you.
Yeah.
I did. But why?
Right. You know, and it's like I didn't even ask. Like I don't even know how we got on this topic all of a sudden.
It's like I know clearly people voted for Biden. I'm not particularly happy with the guy. I am real happy that SNL is finally making fun of him because there's a lot to laugh about there, guys. Because if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. Okay. But here's the deal. I don't care. I don't know how any of you guys voted. And I don't care. I don't care about your politics. And you know what? All of you watching, I don't care about your politics either. I do want you to buy my book. And I don't care about how anyone voted that buys my book. I don't care. I still made the book for you. And if you just want to buy the book and burn it, that's okay, because a burnt book is a bought book. Okay? Because, again, I'm libertarian. I'm part of the Green Party because green is one of my favorite colors.
It's funny. It's funny though. You know, it's like back in the '90s, like chicks with different colored hair. I'd be like, dude, that's like that girl's my type. It's and hot, now I see chicks with different colored hair, and I'm like, I gotta stay away.
Oh no.
Oh, dude, in the '90s, I used to be the chick with the weird shaved and the freaking multicolored hair, and then all
it was
of a sudden,
cool back then,
right?
It got appropriated. I feel like you want to talk about cultural appropriation, dude. Give me back my goth shit.
Right? Right? It really actually, like, it really ticked me off because all of a sudden I was constantly called, oh, she's one of them fucking third wave feminist cat lady, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
oh, God.
Bro, you don't even, like, you just
know me.
looked at my picture and decided that.
Yeah,
like, what?
I catch myself doing that, though. For all I know, the chick is cool as hell, but I see a girl with, like if I'm on a dating app or something and I see a chick, I'm like, she does look hot, but I know she's a freak. Like when I say freak, I mean like
instant danger hair for real.
Yeah.
It's like,
I had to just stop doing.
Like we're not going to be able to carry on a conversation with this. Like I'm not going to be able to talk to this person. I'm gonna get lectured for 45 minutes and then I'm gonna have to pay for dinner. Yeah, I'm not going on that date.
Yeah.
Disagreeing without being disagreeable is unfortunately a lost art, not a spelling error. Good point. Good point, Telepathic Bunny. My sister says, I got called a fool because I like Trump over Biden. Then my friend unfriended me quickly. You know, that's sad. That's sad. People can have a preference. It's like liking Marvel over DC, or it's like liking indie comics over mainstream comics. You can have a preference.
Here's the funny thing. Fine. Going into 2020, right? Going into 2020, I was like, all right, you know, I was looking at the candidates in the Democratic Party, and I was like, "There's really no one I'd vote for." I was like, and I even said, "I go, you know what though? If Joe Biden says he'd run, maybe I'd vote for him." You know, because I was like hanging on to that like Obama era. You know, and then he came on stage.
Yeah. Then he actually started running, and I was like, oh.
And I was like, "That's not
that guy needs a doctor, man."
Yeah,
Like that was because here's the thing. I watched my mom suffer from like that loss of cognition kind of slowly, and then it came on quickly. And so I was like, it was later on after mom had passed, even still to this day, like I'll think back on moments and I was like, oh man, that was a clue. That was a clue that mom was having trouble, you know? Like my mom used to make this spice cake, like this really nice sugar-free spice cake. And somewhere like a few years before she died, I was talking about it, and she had made it once for my wife and I, and Beth had asked for her to make it again, and she was like, I've never made that. I don't know what you're talking about. And Beth thought that mom was just being mean to her, and I was like, no, you know, now I'm thinking about it, I mean, we talked for an hour saying, no, mom, you've made it. Remember, it had raisins and pecans in it, or walnuts in it, and it was spice, and it used the liquid sweetener, and it was this, and I'm like, it was delicious. And I'm like, she couldn't remember ever making it. And now I realize that was kind of the start. Like we were starting to see some of the start of these problems. So having gone through that, you see these clues, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. He's not talking as clearly as he used to in the 90s when he instituted stop and frisk. You know?
right.
Yeah.
The thing that was like a really super racist thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the war on crime, that kind of thing. Welcome, Telepathic Bunny.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, buddy?
So it was, you know, it's clear that there's a problem here with this guy. You know, we need to, you know. So I was like, but I think Bernie would have won. I do. I think because Bernie Sanders was up front with everything. He said exactly what he was going to do, whether we liked it or not. Which is why he didn't get elected. Why he didn't win which is why the Clintons kept him from getting his nomination.
Well, that's why people like Bernie. Like I kind of like I gave Bernie a chance, at least with like my attention early on. He lost
Until
me.
it became a pattern.
Well,
Yeah.
no, you know where he lost
Right.
me was when he went hypocritical, right? So
Yeah.
for the years it was the millionaires and the billionaires. We got to stop the millionaires and the billionaires. And
Then
I'm
he
like,
became
yeah,
a millionaire.
Then he became a millionaire off his
Yeah.
book, and then it just became
Billionaires,
the
the
billionaires. And I was
Yeah.
like, you freaking hypocrite. Yeah.
You're a millionaire
So-
now. So what's going to happen when you're a billionaire, right?
Right. So, but like, here's the thing with guys like
Everybody
Trump
grab
and
an
guys
oar.
guys like Bernie, is they're populists, right? Regardless of what side of the aisle they're on and their politics on certain things, like with like, you know, more socialistic aspects or less socialistic aspects or what have you. Mm-hmm. They're populists, and at the end of the day, that's why the establishment don't like them.
Well, there's something that Charles Krauthammer said, and I think this is where the divide comes in. He said the reason why the left and the conservatives are never going to be able to coexist is because the conservatives think the left is misguided, but the left thinks conservatives are evil.
Yeah.
And i.e., you know, they must be destroyed. And so,
But it
I
used
think
to
there's
not be
I
that
think
way.
there's some
But not
validity
all
to
left
that,
think.
yeah.
Here's the thing: not all left thinks that. That's also a polarizing statement to make. It is a certain segment of the left. It's a
Well,
certain
see,
segment
I
that
make a
happened
difference
to grab the
between-
microphone.
Well, I see a difference between liberal and left. Okay,
Yes.
there's a big difference
Yeah.
between
Thank you.
liberal and left, and I make that distinction.
Oh,
You know, and
Yeah.
as
When people-
as the long
sorry to cut-
conservative, okay.
when people, not to get you up, but when people say that, when people are like these liberals, I'm like leftists.
Leftist.
Yeah, leftists.
Left.
Not all liberals are leftists. Thank you.
Exactly. Well, the Overton window, there's something called an Overton window, and they shifted it so far by running to the extreme left that they pulled pulled it open to where anybody center or anybody actually right of mousy tongue winds up being in the Overton window.
Well,
and
yeah,
considered
Elon Musk
conservative.
about a year ago, less than a year ago, put a meme. It was a stick figure meme, and it had that,
Yeah.
it had like two liberals standing there. It had the line in the middle and the conservative over here, right? And then like the next line down, like the one guy was over here, and then the next line down, the one guy's way over here, and now the little dash line is pulled over. And the other, and the conservatives like, welcome over, buddy. And that's literally literally what it is. Like,
Right.
I get along with the conservative. Like, I get along. When I say get along, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean I agree with everything, but I get along. We can disagree and have fun doing it.
Here's the thing. I don't get along with everybody. The people I don't get along with, it's because they're dicks.
Right.
It's not because of their politics.
Of their politics.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just because they're not worth getting along with. They're just, but yeah, that's how it is. Nick says, suddenly Luke's pauses and rhythm makes so much sense.
Right.
And I had to say it just like that. Hell, chat. Are we talking about the Yeah, a great communicator.
No, you forget the Nick Talker. You forget the.
I like this comment
Nick,
here.
man, I love Nick. Yeah.
An artist should be able to move. Yeah, good.
You go for it. You read.
An artist should be able to move through through all circles of society, which is true. I mean, even going back to high school, I was the long-haired burnout that hung out with the preps, the jocks, the other burnouts, like the nerds. Like I hung out with everybody, and I've always been that way. Like I could just literally sit down it doesn't matter if I go to a party and it's a bunch of like hip hoppers, I can sit down with them and hang out. If it's a bunch of metalheads, like I'd sit down and hang out. Yeah. If it's a bunch of jocks listening to Pop 40, I might get a little agitated with the music. But
Dude, I was a youth pastor. I was a youth pastor in inner city. I dealt with everybody, every kind of person, every kind of kid, every kind of parent. You get along with people. You find a way to connect with them, and not to get religious here, but Paul says it like this. Paul says, "I'm all things to all men, that I might save one." That statement wasn't that he was like, he's going around wearing all these different faces or whatever. It was that he was able to find a way to connect with each person because he knew that God could connect with each person, that Christ could, right? So if Christ could, he was willing to find a way to connect with someone he disagreed with so that they could meet him. They can meet Christ, right?
Well, most people don't understand that Christ was centrist.
Christ was centrist, yes.
He
And
was
so that
centrist.
was so that was my heart growing up, is that. So I mean, as an artist, as a musician, as a minister, all that played into effect that I could go to any situation, just like you, Anthony, and be able to be comfortable and at home with people, because people are what's important to me.
Exactly. Like
Even the ones that I don't like.
I have a friend, like to this day, like me and her are great friends, but we joke around. We had, like for the longest time, we had like a love-hate relationship. So that to the point where it got like, even when like that hate wasn't there, we would still like mimic it. You know what I mean? Like, and just like poke at each other, because it started way back in the day when like I dated a mutual friend of ours, and I don't know, that whole thing. She took her friend's side and that whole issue, but. Yeah. She got to the point, she actually broke it down to me one day, years and years later, like maybe a few years ago, a handful of years ago. She goes, you know why there was like a long time where like I kind of didn't like you, but because we were friends for so long, I couldn't like not be your friend, but I just didn't like you. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, but she's like, I was like, why? She's like, I thought you were fake. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, because I would see you with one set of people, and then I'd see you with another set of people, and like you'd be a little different. And then she goes, but I realized it wasn't that you were being fake. She's like, you were just meeting them on their level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were finding that common ground and trying to get to know them. And I was like, that's all I've ever done. That's what I've done with you. And she was like, no, I know. She's like, I saw that. She's like, I realized that. And it took me, honestly, at our 10-year high school reunion, her husband at the time, and our other friends that we were all with were wasted, and I was like the only semi-sober one. Well, I was pretty wasted, but I was the only one that could handle my liquor. And she was cold, and I like literally gave her my jacket and like helped put her husband, and everybody else to bed, then left to go home because I lived like not too far away. Forgot my jacket, went back, but she was like, the fact that you like took care of everybody, even though like you knew that I didn't like you. She was like, I knew that you were real, and like she's like, and then like, she's like, I started to look at you differently, and then and that's what she said. She's like, I realized you were empathizing with these people. You weren't like trying to like fake being what they were, because like I never tried to like talk like them. Like it wasn't like I all of a sudden be hanging out, like I said, with a bunch of guys who listen to hip hop and start going, yo man, what's going, you know what I mean? So I throw up the hand, you know. I talk to them the same way I talk to everybody else. I just, you know.
You didn't talk about hot sauce in your purse.
Right. So it was.
now look,
so
here's the deal.
I get that. I get like what you were saying though, like about like, you know, like
Okay.
you should be able to go into like different circles and
You should
be on.
You know, but here's the truth. We don't have to have that in our own circle here. We have comics at the central part of our, just by default in our conversation, just by being a part of, just by coming onto NerdCap, like swinging by this and seeing this show, just by being in the, like right now we're simulcasting to the Facebook group over there, the Indie Comics Connector. Just by being in that group, right? We have comics in common. And instead of building on that comics in common thing, we allow the antagonistic behavior of a polarized culture to tear us apart too. And it's like, oh, well, you're a Comicsgate guy, or you're a SJW, or you're a this. No, I'm into comic books. That's what I'm into, and I like good comic books. I'll buy a good comic book, or I'll not buy a not good one. Right?
Well, and not to pass blame off though, but like if conservatives were allowed to make the comics that they wanted, like if Mike Barron, let's use Mike Barron, right? Because he's like he's technically the most affected in all this right now, currently, than anybody. But like the least talked about, which I find very crazy. But he literally just got canceled by an article. Like they got him kicked off Kickstarter. Yeah. An author of an article on a website got their readers to go report him and got his campaign kicked off Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If conservatives were allowed to make the comics they wanted, like you don't have to like woke comics, you don't buy them. You don't have to like conservative comics, you don't buy them. But you should be allowed to make them in the same space. There shouldn't have been a separate space for conservatives to go to. Right?
Yeah.
There shouldn't have been, and now there is.
So be able to be allowed to as much as the other.
Right, is what I'm saying. So again, without like getting like petty and going, well, who threw the first punch? I mean, come on. Like
at this point, I'm gonna quote Hillary Clinton. At this point, what does it matter anyway?
No,
not quite in context.
You're kind of like correct in that. So, here we are, almost 7 years later. So yeah, we are. We there is a separate space. There is this separate thing, right? Now, does the fighting need to keep continuing? No, but
No.
but what I'm saying is, like, I guess this is a what if, but like, again, if what if those people didn't try to force out people they didn't like? None of this would be happening right now.
Right.
But then again, I wouldn't know any of you guys, so I got to take the
Right.
good with the bad. I have to take
Yeah.
the good with the bad.
And people are creating alternatives. Like that's why I started the Facebook group, because I was in a group and I wasn't even aligned with any CG people at the time. I just saw that I was in this group and they were kicking people out because they were a part of this group they kept calling a hate group. So I looked into it a little bit and I realized the people they were kicking out were pretty decent people that by no means would have fallen into the category of being hateful or misogynistic or racist or anything. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to start my own group. Just in case. And if at some point I do something that warrants me getting kicked out, right? Which tends to be my whole way of thinking. It's like, well, let me just build my own.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to worry about someone kicking me out later. Right? If anyone's going to keep the gate, I kind of want it to be me. And I'm pretty much just open it up and let people come in. And then we don't get the cops involved until they start breaking stuff, right? When you start hanging from the chandelier, you've gone too far. If you come in, make yourself something to eat, sit down and watch some TV, be cool with each other. It's fine.
Right.
I just wanted to do that. And so that's why I started the group. Now the group is strong and it's a community that people are talking and sharing their creative ideas, their creative work. And I'm like, that's what you do. See, because here's the deal. I don't agree with everything that Nick thinks, and I don't agree with everything that Cooper thinks. I would say one's my liberal friend, one's my conservative friend. And I don't agree with either one of them entirely.
Right. I have to
Right?
say this as
But
a
it doesn't
disclaimer
matter.
real quick. Because I know when I'm using these left, right, conservative, liberal terms, I'm using them colloquially because that's how,
Yeah.
as a population, we understand what we're talking about. And I feel like
Yeah.
I can probably say that for the same as the people on the panel when we're saying, we're not trying to lump people into groups, but we're just trying to make it clear what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That they would align more here or there.
Right.
But none of that matters because we love comics and games, right? So we
Right.
talk about comics and games. We'll agree on things that we agree on. We will disagree on certain things, but we don't allow those things to mess up the pot because we realize that we are not each other's enemy. We can be friends. The people that we're not friends with are people that don't want to contribute, that they only want to take and they never want to give, that they want to put the spotlight on themselves at the expense of someone else. I'm talking about grifters and jerks and just all around not good people, right? Those are the people we don't like, that we don't associate with. That's what the Genesis crew is all about, is having people that are completely different in a lot of aspects. They come together, they complain a little bit about what's going on, but then they talk about how to make it better, right? Let's make ourselves better. Let's do us better. We're not trying to tell other people how to be better. You look at yourself to do that,
Right.
And it's one thing that Nick and I always talk about, especially on Thursday mornings. We have that thing where we gripe, and then at a certain point in the show, we stop griping and we talk about, let's look at a more positive alternative to the thing
Right.
that's got us upset. And that's where a lot of people forget. They never make that switch. They stay in the negative. We have to be enemies. No, we don't have to be. And so part of that is you start creating alternatives that become undeniable, right? You make something that people can't deny, like a Facebook group, like a group within Twitter, like a crowdfunding campaign, like a comic book that people actually buy and read, right? You make an alternative. You make yourself undeniable. I want to get to this comment. I liked Bernie for his earnestness. I like Bernie for his memeability. They tried to yank the Overton window to their side, over the backs of everyone else, and that's very true. Next says, I believe the Constitution is as sacred a document as a secular document can be. I support it and hold those who have taken the oath to uphold the Constitution to that oath. Amen. Preach. Someone take up an offering for this man. Seth says he wasn't even a centrist. Earthly politics didn't matter compared to eternal life. No, he wasn't. And really, heaven is a socialist environment, but it's ran by a good king. That's why socialism won't work here, because it's ran by us who are flawed. He's flawless. So socialism works with him. But it's a monarchy. It's he's king. He's ruling over. But he's also got a socialist mindset. Here's the thing. It can't be really summed up in any one of those single terms because it's so perfect. And we wouldn't understand it because we're so imperfect. But Nick says, I am passionate about the Bill of Rights I need to lean in.
Exquisite expression.
There you go. Somebody else read for me.
Good, buddy.
And recognition of humanity, it doesn't grant any rights. It acknowledges that those rights transcend mere laws. Mere laws. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he continues on his next one.
Yeah, Piper says, but yet a centrist is the closest depictor. That. Yeah, there you go. And then he goes.
And anyone works against the ideals of that, regardless of their affiliation, is someone I have major issues with. And I agree with that. Like when we were going over these Twitter file things and I got into that debate, they were like, well, you saw that, what about where like they say Trump's administration reached out to Twitter to get, I said, well, listen, if any Republican also reached out and infringed on someone's First Amendment rights, they should be investigated too.
Wrong. Yeah.
They have yet to discover. They have yet to discover anything.
Well, yeah, Matt Taibbi came back and said he was only told that in going through the files that Elon sent after the other guy like whitewashed them. He said he still hasn't found any evidence that they had reached out like he has with the Democrats. But let's just say, for the sake of argument's sake, that Republicans did have similar channels, if not as many, and did use them. They should be investigated and held accountable just as much as anyone else. You infringe on somebody's First Amendment right, you need to be held. You need to be thrown in the slammer. I don't care.
You break the law, it's the law, man. You break the law, you go to jail.
But bear in mind, if they had those channels, they sucked.
Right. What if this side just didn't care what other people think in general? Like, just make your stuff and not worry about the weirdos. I kind of want to, and I think that's really what we should do. But there's a lot of talent that's out there that's getting wrapped up in the mix of this back and forth that needs to end. There needs to be that kind of that. You come into that space and you're like, look, it doesn't matter. We're not really gonna deal with that here, right? We're not gonna do that here. If you want to do that, you have to leave. It's like at the bar. You come in, you drink, you have a good time. You start fighting, the bouncer kicks you out.
Right.
I kind
of agree with that. That's why, like, if you followed my Twitter back in 2016, as compared to my Twitter now, I'm a lot tamer. But
same.
Piper, we've been in battles. We're battle scarred from this culture war, and it's hard to let that go sometimes. You know what I mean? Like when you've been lied about, smeared, when you literally had your account false flagged and ran off and nuked off Twitter because somebody decided to call you a sexist and a transphobe. because you use the term tranny because your friends who are transsexual use that term. It's like, listen, I get some of you don't like that, but some of you do, and like,
Yeah.
who
gotta-
do I appease?
Yeah.
Right?
Pick a word. That's the one I'll use.
Right. And it's like, especially when in the beginning, we weren't even, again, like I said, we weren't looking to create our own space. We were asking the mainstream comics, Marvel, DC, Image, all these people, like, hey, can you not screw around with the existing characters? Can you make your own? Can you let these people, do their thing and not blacklist them because of who they voted for? And you got called racist, sexist, misogynist, this, that, and the other thing. It's hard to let that go. It's hard to forget. You know what I mean? It's like my great uncle who fought in World War II, kind of finding it hard to he was in the Navy, so he was fighting the Japanese a lot. He was a little bigoted towards the Japanese up until the day he died. It was kind of hard for him to let that go. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
He
When
tried.
someone's trying to kill
Don't get me
you,
wrong. Yeah, he tried. Like, he had a neighbor that was Japanese, and it was funny because I've only got to see them interact once. But my cousin, he's like my third cousin, his grandson, saw it every day, and he would tell me stories. But I got to see these two guys, old Japanese dude, and my grandmother's brother, both World War II vets, right?
Oh.
Like.
They
It was like
different sides.
yeah, and it was like Archie Bunker and George Jefferson. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but like they were friends, but they argued and insulted each other all day long, and like the most vile, racist comments you could ever think of hearing coming out of like an old man's mouth came out of these two old men's mouths, and they had beers together. Well, my great uncle would drink a scotch, but the Japanese guy he drank Peroni. For some reason, he drank Italian beer. And I saw them interact. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, it's literally George Jefferson and Archie Bunker. It's literally what's going on right now. But yeah, he had fought in World War II on the Japanese side and then emigrated over and became a U.S.
My
citizen
dad had
later
this
on.
friend that he didn't like. He had this. He called him a friend that said he didn't like. I assumed they didn't like each other because they would complain about each other, but yet they would go every day and have coffee at McDonald's and breakfast together.
Yep.
And talk for hours. But they didn't like each other.
Right, it was weird.
How does that work?
It was
How did
weird to
that work?
watch, dude. Yeah.
Nick says, shoot wanting alternative is a big part of the Base Plus 2 engine was built for the hybrids, the RPG, and why I'm building the fantasy version, absolutely. Similar to why I make Big Zombie Robots. Games for people who want something else. And yes, the answer is Hybrids RPG. That is launching January 10th. Very excited about that.
Nice.
We're caught up with the... now we're caught up with the comments.
Yep.
That's
There
what
you go.
friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I think we've been going at this for a minute. This has been a good nightcap, I think, and a good nerdcap for nightcap for nerds. It's we're coming into the season, that's known for its giving and Christmas cheer. A lot of people don't feel that. A lot of people we spend a lot of time on the internet, and the internet will break you down and bust you down. And a lot of our friendships are on the internet. Look, all of my friendships are on the internet. All of them. Outside of my wife. Every meaningful friendship I have is through the screen. And because the world is as big as it is, it's become a lot smaller than it used to be. And so maybe people, because of that, they feel with the economy of friends, they don't have to be nice to the person they disagree with. They don't, maybe your grandpa and his neighbor wouldn't have sat down and had beers, had drinks if they had the internet. Maybe they would have just quietly hated each other as neighbors. I mean, I don't hang out with my neighbors. But there are a lot of things that hold us in common, especially with comic books. You know, especially with indie comic book creators. Many of us know what it's like to try to work a full-time job and make a comic book. We know how hard it is to try to find an audience. We know how hard it is to try to deal with artists and colorists and writers and finding printers and meeting deadlines, and at the end of it trying to find a way to squeeze out some sort of profitability. We know what it's like. And we know what it's like to make 3 or 4 or 5 books not being profitable. We know what it's like. We know how hard it is to be going to cons and sit there and you paid for a table fee and gas to get there and a hotel and you didn't make $40. We've all been there. We know what it's like. It is very possible that the thing that is keeping us from talking to each other, this oh, well, you're right or left, or you're SJW, or you're CG, or this or that thing might not be near as big as the things that could make you friends and bring you together. I think it's worth talking about a little bit personally. But that's just me, and it's my channel, so I can say whatever the hell I want, can't I? And deal with the consequences later.
No, I agree with that, because like I always tell people, I go, you know, we probably agree on a lot more than we disagree on. Like, you know, like when you're dealing with like the SJW mainstream fans and they're coming at you, well, you're Comicsgate and blah blah blah. That means you're. But listen, I'm all for racial equality, dude. I remember when like we were at our most racial harmonic as a country, in like the year 2000, when like we coming out of the 90s into the new millennium, like there was hardly like a racial tension at all. There was hardly any. I'm not gonna say that it was totally gone, but there was hardly any.
I mean, granted, I'm not looking at it through black eyes, right? It might not have been for everybody, but for me, it seemed where I was at in my community, which was very diverse, it seemed like we were in unity.
Yeah, and I've even heard like I forget the guy who it was. It was a black guy. I forget. I think he was a comedian or an actor. I've heard like a number of people say this, but the one that stands out to me was the guy who was on the Joe Rogan show. He said the same exact thing. He's like, "What happened? You know, we got through the LA riots. We got through the New York City cop gangbusters. You know, we brought all those out. Everybody was on board. We were all on the same page. Everything was great. And all of a sudden 2010 hit and everything went to shit." Like what? And I was like,
one good decade.
I was like, I've been saying that for years and no one wants to believe me.
Salazar wants to know, do I have to be an RPG master to play hybrids? And Nick is answering that question for you. He says, no, Salazar, not at all. Games should be fun, quick to pick up, and easy to play. And hybrids is that way. It's very rules light, and I do believe we have included the rule of cool. If it's cool and the DM thinks it's cool, then you should be able to do it. And so yeah, it's not going to be a difficult game for you to play at all. I think you'll be able to pick up to it really quick and have a good time. You can literally, with a quick play, just start right away and have a good time with it. Nicholas Talker says, disagree with your neighbor, love them anyway. Absolutely, absolutely. The opposite of right is wrong, not left. Yeah, we keep using these terms, right and left. And what we mean is of the aisle. Conservative, liberal, I think any person is going to have a little conservatism in them and a little liberalism in them if they're a nice, rounded human being. And I think that you can even put your worldview and even some of your ideology into your comic. And I think that you should be allowed to make your comic about whatever you want to make it about. Like there's a guy, it's called, what is that? Kemosabe did a review on him. Something about Twink.
Yeah.
Night Twink.
Night Twink. It was like a
Twink,
spoof on
yeah.
Nightwing. Yeah. Yeah. I saw that review.
Right wing, left wing, same bird. It's more like wing nut is more like what it is. But yeah, so he did that Night Twink, right? Now, it's not my thing. He was gracious enough to read it, and he pointed out reasons why it needed to be better, why it could be better. Number one, why it could, but why it needed to be. Because there's not a lot of representation there. And when you make something that overtly, like, kind of off, it makes sense, right? But you should be able to make whatever kind of comic book you want.
If your batarang is a dildo, you've gone too far.
You might have, but still, there's an audience, there's a market for that, you know. Clearly, he's selling his book, right? But don't expect everyone to praise you for your dildo batarang. You know, that's not.
Yeah, I think what Kemosabe's point was, you could have made this a little more serious and had like some serious, like, been literally one of the first original gay character representations in comics that was on a serious note, rather than like taking John Kent.
Could have had Midnighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a contradiction of the character and of the values, you know, that you say that this is the value, but then you contradict that. It's hypocritical, you know. And Night Twink, is that about a delicious golden pastries? No, I wish it was. I wish it was, but
it was cream filled.
No, it wasn't.
There were some cream filled pages.
Yeah, by issue 3 it went into full on porn. Oh, which by the way,
Bad dark.
So let me talk about this for a second before we go. We're going to leave with this. So we know that we're going to allow not safe for work on Fund My Comic because we want people to have freedom of expression. And part of that freedom of expression is for you to be able to present your work any way that you want. Right? And even though that the two owners of this, myself and Todd Altmans, are Christians, we are not imposing our values on anyone. Okay? We want to make sure everyone knows that. We are, however, taking the responsibility to, if it's not safe for work, to make sure it is marked not safe for work. Okay? That way, when people are trying to do searches and they're looking for things, they can filter out things they don't want to see or highlight things they do want to see when it comes to those kind of materials. Okay? Now, as far as the campaigns go, you can show some light nudity, you can show violence, you can have bad language, that doesn't matter. But in our first wave, you cannot have pornography. It cannot be full-on sex, okay? You can't do furry porn. Because this is not us gatekeeping. It's because there's a different kind of insurance the banking system has to have when you're selling pornography. I didn't know this. This is why you get lawyers. Okay? So if you're a Pornhub, you have to have a different set of legalities in place to do your business legally. You have to make, you know. So, since we don't have that, and we don't intend to get that in the next couple of weeks when we launch, we're just saying no porn.
That's
Nudity, there's not porn, okay?
Good
We're
to know.
talking full-on intercourse. No porn. Right?
Yeah, no,
So
I mean,
that's-
and as long as you're being open about the reason for why, I mean, people shouldn't be able to get upset about that. Like if you were just like no porn and that's it, like didn't say why, it could come across as you being gatekeeping. And like, yeah, I could see like somebody who wanted to do that would get upset. But if you're saying, listen, I don't have the insurance to cover myself for that legal aspect of the internet, I can't bring you on board yet, but
Yeah.
eventually
Yeah,
we
it's-
will.
And it's more than me. It's me, it's Todd, it's anybody else that works for the company. It's not just the company, fundmycomic.com LLC. It's also the company that the developers that are building and maintaining the site for us. There's a lot of people that's liable if we're not following the law on that. And so we're just making sure that now maybe phase 2, phase 3 at some point will incorporate those things, but right now it's just not. It's not in the cards for us to get there, to be able to launch when we want to, and to be able to get this thing rolling. Because right now, people are in need of a alternative for crowdfunding that's not going to be gatekeepy, because of values, political values or whatever. And we want to make sure that we're saving people money in the new year for this first quarter of crowdfunding, because we're only taking the 2% crowd platform fee, as opposed to 5% from everybody else. You're keeping 3% of your money that you normally would lose, and so it's going to be able to allow you to achieve your dreams easier. So that's
Right.
That's important to us.
Well, I think the good thing is not too many people, like at least in our sphere of things, and even going outside into other little bubbles that might intersect. I don't think too many people are doing full-on porn comics. You know what I mean?
No. But what made me think of that was issue 3 of Night Twink wouldn't be able to be on.
Right.
Wouldn't be able to be on Fund My Comic because it wouldn't be covered, which is. Yeah, but we're communicating why. Nick just says, just as long as we're all agree that AI prompts aren't art, and I agree they're not art. I prefer not safe for weaklings. I'm fine with no porn, but if you say no corn, then we'd have a problem. No, feel free to put as much corn in your campaign as you like, as long as that corn is not having sex. You can have that corn. Just no porn, sorry. And Nick says, if people are not comfortable with your boundaries, then they don't need to be part of your projects. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And Mr. H, welcome, Mr. H. Nice to have you here. Oh, hi, YouTube. Autoplay dropped me off here. Autoplay dropped you off. Oh, well, thanks for joining us. We are getting ready to leave. This is the end of our little expedition for the night. No corn porn.
All right, now you just went down a whole dark alley, Salazar.
Oh no!
Like, oh my gosh.
How did we get to veggie porn?
Tomorrow it's going to be a thing. Tomorrow it's going to be.
It already is a thing.
Bunny, man, tell me
Don't ask me how I know.
I don't want to know. Piper would know. Piper's got
would.
her finger on the kink community.
Yeah, I keep up with this.
Or should I say she's got her finger in the kink community?
Phrasing, Piper. Phrasing, Piper.
Shit.
I'm sorry. It's late. Lord
That's
forgive
what
me,
she
I
said.
apologize.
I can't fix my mouth typo still, but at least now, on one account, I can fix my actual ones.
Right, okay. Anyway, Cooper,
Yes, sir.
say your farewells, man.
You can find me on Twitter, Telepathic Bunny Comics, and also on YouTube, Telepathic Bunny Comics. So just look for Telepathic Bunny.
Yeah. What did I start? You know what you started. Anthony, go for it, brother.
You can find me on Twitter. Pretty much all my socials at Dark If Comics. YouTube and Facebook would be Dark If Comics Presents. And so if there's a social media platform out there, you'll probably find me. But the best place to find me is darkifcomics.com. We just made our storefront on the website live. We have Lightbringer 1, both covers, and tapestries and trading card sets and posters and all that stuff is up for sale. And I was going to do it this Monday, but I haven't put the newsletter out yet. So it's probably sometime the next day or two. If you haven't already, sign up for the newsletter because you will get a newsletter in the next couple of days with a Christmas special that I'll run from when the letter goes out to Christmas. I haven't figured out what it's going to be yet, either like no shipping or an extra item if you buy like one of the books or something like that. Just something for Christmas and stuff like that. So go check that out, darkifcomics.com.
Awesome. Piper.
Hi, just find me on Piper's Adventure. My website's still broken.
All right. And Piper can now click buttons in the back room.
Yeah, I keep I keep forgetting that until like towards the end where I was like my mouse was hovering over one and I was like, oh yeah, because I accidentally almost hit in broadcast because I'm not used to being able to do that.
That would have been fun. And I guess we're done. I've had enough.
I was trying to
porn.
scroll
That's what it
and
was.
then
That's what did it.
whew, and then it was asking me if I was sure and I was like, oh crap, I can do that.
No, I'm not sure. I am not sure. Thank you for asking. Well, you can find me at lukestonestudios.com. Also, please feel free to go over and check out aerocomics.store. We got things going on there. And if you go to lukestonestudios.com, sign up for that mailing list. I'll be sending out an email update when we have a launch, probably after the website for Fund My Comic is live. I'll send out an email, and then also you can get updates on all the new books and things we've got going on. For 2023, we have a lot happening. It's going to be a big year for comics. It's going to be a big year for independent comics. It's going to be a good year for
July the 4th.
good year, I think. I think good year is going to be a good year.
Keep an eye out.
Yep. July the 4th. Is that when your book comes out?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's like a quintessential white guy thing to do, isn't it? The violent, I call it the violent thumbs up. Feel how hard I'm agreeing with you.
It's at least cooler than the finger point, you know, the
I don't have the index finger. So.
Yeah. You thought I was going to do something else, didn't you? Like that. Back to you. Man, that movie's funny. Bruce Almighty. Yeah. So, Piper, how do we want to end this one out? Do we want to watch
do the What Does It Matter one song? Because
Perfect.
you referenced
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes. Do I have that queued up? Let's find out.
Mm-hmm.
Do I at this point?
Scrolling.
Yep. I got it right here.
Woo!
All right, guys. Here you go. Now, your mics are going to be live, so if you sing along, we'll hear you.
Oh,
Good night, guys. Have a good night.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending. But first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law, no regulation.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, not even Gmail.
But first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary,
Nothing was marked classified.
there is evidence of
Nothing was
tremendous
marked
amount.
classified.
Now let me tell you what we found.
Oh my gosh.
110 emails.
It was not the best choice.
52 email chains
It was a mistake.
have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it
8
make?
of those chains were top
It wasn't
secret.
the best choice.
36 of those chains
I said
secret.
it was a mistake.
And 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it
With
make?
respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains
I made a mistake.
have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it
8
make?
of those chains were
It
top
was not a
secret.
good choice.
36 of those chains
I said it was a
secret.
mistake.
And 8 contain confidential information.
what difference at this point does it make?